So today's the last day for Healthy for the Holidays series. We usually end right around January 1st, but there was a few more videos I wanted to do. And today's I'm so jazzed about because I'm just so energetic today because I have been putting the finishing touches on the what will now be the first section of the teaching modules in the shift. And I've been talking about this for a little while. Quick backstory in that, I don't put anything into my programs until I feel really, really confident in working with the material. I've utilized the material. I've talked about the material. I've trial and errored the material. But before all of that, I've had extensive training in the material. I have some type of credibility or credential in the material. So by the time something goes into the shift, it has been tested, well-read, embodied, utilized in a number of ways. Because, not to go on a tangent, but I was talking about this yesterday, just there's so much noise on social media, and there's a lot of buzzwords. If you kind of follow buzzword trends, you'll start to hear somebody talk about something, and then everybody's talking about it, and then it sort of ebbs and flows and moves into something else. And the buzzword right now is the nervous system. Not the buzzword, it's one of the buzzwords, right? Everybody's talking about the nervous system. But honestly, most people, let's see, how do I say this with sort of like love and kindness in my heart, because I do feel love and kindness in my heart about it. But most people don't actually know sort of what they're talking about, and I can tell that when I hear what they're saying and the way they describe it and how they sort of encourage people to do things in relation to the nervous system. It lets me know that they haven't really studied or spent time in it. And zero judgment. I mean, zero judgment. Everybody is on their own path. However, what happens, this is the part that gets frustrating, is that it's such a big buzzword. And let's say you're a consumer and you hear about the nervous system from somebody, and they've taught you something, and then they told you to go try something based on what they just taught you, and then you go do it, and it doesn't have a very big impact on you because they didn't understand what they were talking about. Well, now your mind is sort of on the trajectory of, yeah, that nervous system stuff, I don't know, wasn't really that impactful for me. I don't know, not a big deal, right? And so while it's totally fine for people to talk about whatever they want to talk about, I mean, me personally, I prefer people to kind of stay in their lane. And like I said, for me personally, this is just the way I do things and how I prefer it because of my sensitivity to it. Nothing will go into my work unless I'm well-read, researched, that I have some expertise or experience or both, or have done the deep dive in the data or the literature or whatever, because of that. Because the risk is that if we don't know what we're talking about, and then we go sort of teach people and ask them to do things, and then it doesn't work, those people miss the opportunity to actually learn something really impactful, that could have a really big impact on their lives. And we've sort of diluted that for them. So for me, it's really important. I have totally digressed. My whole point in this is that I have been putting the nervous system, specifically nervous system and polyvagal theory work, into the shift this week. And we launch on the January 21st. So I've been getting everything ready to put it in there, and it is life-changing material. And here's my point. If you have had introduction to the nervous system and it hasn't impacted your life in a profound, insightful, I'm not necessarily going to say positive, because, depending on where you are when you first start working with the nervous system, it can be really disruptive. But if it hasn't had a profound impact on the lens with which you view your life, then it hasn't been taught to you correctly. And you may not have had the opportunity to fully understand the tenets and the theory and the impact of understanding the nervous system. So why am I telling you this? And what do I want to tell you today as we close sort of Healthy for the Holiday series? we started off talking about the nervous system way back in week 2 of this, long time ago, I think video 6 through 10. And I had said at that point, I'm just dripping these concepts. There's a whole lot to it. We've got 10 minutes here together every day. You're not going to get the full picture of it in this, right? But one of what I think is the most profound impacts of understanding the nervous system is that it helps us to, I don't know if normalize is the right word, but be less judgmental, harsh, critical of ourselves and others when we understand how universally we operate under a system of survival. And so that every behavior that we engage in or do, every behavior to our nervous system is in service of survival, no matter how strange or socially unacceptable or just off that sounds. If to the system it wasn't in service of survival, we wouldn't do it. Now, hear me very loud and clear when I say that does not give us permission to do whatever we want. That does not excuse our behaviors. That does not allow people to treat people poorly and say, well, it's in service of my survival. That's why I do that. That is not what that means at all. But what it does mean is that when we start to look at our own behavior and other behaviors and like a collective system, meaning school system, government system, whatever, the systems out there, that behaviors are always in service of survival. For some reason, somebody feel is the wrong word because it's almost always unconscious until we bring it to our perceptive conscious awareness. The system is sending a signal that this thing needs to be said, felt, or done in order to survive, function, right? Now, again, please hear me say, I'm giving you tidbits. This is not the full picture. It's the entire reason why I have built courses and things like that. It's because I can't give you the full picture in a 10-minute snippet. These are hours of training and then coaching and then questions and then coaching, right? This is hours and hours and hours of clinical work that's into the programs. So please know you're just getting a snippet of this here. But the big takeaway, and truly what we've been working on through the whole Healthy for the Holidays series, is awareness of our system dysregulation, the places where that happens, the people where that happens, the environments where that happens, and how to recognize, we call this notice and name, how to recognize the flow of our systems throughout the day, hour to hour, week to week, month to month, times of the year, right? How to recognize the flow of our systems and have more and build more capacity and resources to regulate our systems. And so if you have been exposed to nervous system work and it has not sort of dramatically impacted the lens with which you at least see yourself and why you do things and how you do things and why you respond to things and how you respond to things, if that has not dramatically changed your experience and lens of life, then my invitation is that perhaps it hasn't been taught to you in a way that's complete. Let's put it that way. That's complete, because this work will upend your entire perception of how the world works, of how you work, of how you see things, of how you take in information, of how you experience others, and give you a different language to be able to understand and recognize how you experience others. Now, don't get me wrong, for someone who is living in a chronically activated nervous system, to hear this stuff can feel kind of uncomfortable and prickly. And that's the beauty of nervous system work. To me, when I hear somebody have that experience, I go, okay, you're feeling activation in your system. What's going on for you? What are you hearing? Right. And I say that just to say, without fail, as we start to learn to notice and name the states of our system, we have the ability to work with ourselves in a way that for most people has not ever been accessible before. Because before, we are so stuck in our story. What does this mean? What happened? What did she do? What did he do? Can you believe that? That means this, and he does that. And we're stuck in story. And when we're stuck in story, we stay stuck there, because when our experience of life is based on our stories of what's going on, we have less agency, right? Because if my okayness depends on him being that way or her being that way, or that system providing me this thing, or me getting that job, or you making that money, or whatever, if my okayness depends on something outside of myself, it always sets me up for being in a place where I might not feel okay. I might not feel safe, like we would call it in nervous system work. If my okayness relies on something external, then I am always in a position to not be okay. That in and of itself doesn't feel safe to the system. So when we do nervous system work, what we start to learn is how to be internally resourced and regulate our systems and have more what we call capacity and resources to regulate our system, so our okayness always comes from inside. Now, hear me loud and clear, that doesn't mean we are always okay. It doesn't mean we are never dysregulated, but it means we feel so much more agency over how we flow through life. I'm going to tie this up in a little bow for you here. We feel so much more agency about how we flow through life. We feel so much more empowered. We feel like we have so much more choice, which leads to freedom, which leads to you not grasping so tightly at the thing that's going to help you feel okay, which leads to easier food decisions, which leads to peace with food, which leads to ease with food and your body. This is how this all flows together. Now, again, I am just giving you snippets and tidbits because healthy conversations, we're here for 10, 15 minutes together. But you can tell how excited and jazzed I am about this set of information that really sets the foundation for how you change, well, how you change anything in your life, but especially for my people who are looking for that peace and ease with food and have things just not be so hard and challenging. Most of my clients have been fighting with food for decades, maybe their entire lives, and they just want to break. They just want to rest and they don't know how. This is our path to getting there. This is the way that we arrive at that peace and ease and flow with food. Everybody has that accessible to them. And if it's not food you're struggling with, money, relationships, jobs, career, goals, whatever, it's applicable. So, I get so excited. That's a good way to wrap up our Healthy for the Holiday series, to just understand that through these tools and through our awareness of our systems and our ways of being and all of the tools that we've talked about through mindfulness and gratitude and tracking our states and is it worth it and all these tools that we've done over the past few months together, a couple months together, I guess, lead to this opportunity for us to know ourselves from an internal perspective in a different way, and that creates freedom in our lives. As I mentioned before, we will move to healthy conversations, which happen on Thursdays every week over here, here being in the Facebook group, or you might be on the Mighty Network group, or you might be watching this on YouTube. We're now moving to once a week Healthy Conversations. If you have a topic you'd like me to cover in Healthy Conversations, feel free to just send me an email, a message, a DM, and I will put it on the list for things to cover in 2023. Thank you all for being here for the Healthy for the Holidays series. I really, really enjoyed connecting with so many of you. I know so many of you are already signed up for the shift. If you are on the fence, if you're thinking about it, you can still book a call with me. I've been jumping on discovery calls all week to see if it feels like a right fit for you. I'll put links in here for you to sign up for the webinar, for you to sign up for a call, and for you to sign up to connect with me to see if this is the right program for you. All right, everybody. Here's to a happy and healthy 2023.